Good morning. Welcome to the Dynasty Playbook, Dynasty FF's dedicated podcast. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Reddit at EAF_Marine and on Twitter at DrewDotsonNFL. With me, as always, my co-host, Dave. You can find Dave on Reddit at mtux96 and on Twitter at DynastyDaveII. Dave, how are you doing this morning?
Pretty good. Guess waking up though, but pretty ready.
Well, that's what you get for living on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I've been up since forever, but I had to drop my car off at the shop this morning. Had to get some new tires. So, that's all right though.
Cars could use new tires from time to time.
Yes, they do, especially when they have zero tread.
Just like when you need to get new players each year in the rookie draft. You gotta get new tires.
Exactly, and that's why you take Odell Beckham Jr. at 101 in your startup drafts, because he has tons of tread. And you don't draft Calvin Johnson, because he has no tread.
A lot of people don't really like Beckham at 1, but
I know.
I can't blame people for taking him there, but I could also see why people don't want to take him at 101 too. But just a matter of just how you view. Is he going to have a sophomore slump, and is he going to do as good as he was this year? That's going to be the question there.
Oh yeah, Caveman Saul and I had a little bit of a conversation about it on the board yesterday when the DLF mock got posted in the sub yesterday, and OBJ got taken 101 overall. And I mean, I can understand the logic in not wanting to take him, because it's definitely, for the more risk-averse owners, it's not a move you want to make. But for me, it's, if you're passing on him, then you're not maximizing the potential value of that pick, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people would like Des Bryant or someone else at the 101, but I think a lot of people view him that he's going to be a good wide receiver, and that he showed a lot of promise this year. The question is, does his talent continue, or does he just drop off the face of the earth? Which I'd have a hard chance to say that he will. I could really see people taking him at 101.
Yeah, I can't see him falling off the face of the earth. I mean, if you look at his numbers from this year, if in PPR leagues, if he drops 5 points per game on average, he's still a high-end wide receiver 1 in points per game. I'll take that. He's 4 years younger than every other wide receiver that scored in that range. I'll take that. But I mean, if you're gonna take Dez, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, I mean, it's not dumb. It's not stupid. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I think the potential payout is higher for taking Beckham. Is it riskier? Sure. But I just like to pay out higher.
And a lot of people are afraid of Cruz in that offense, but I don't think Victor Cruz is going to come back to the way he was. And even if he did, I mean, Cruz is a slot player. I mean, he's going to actually open the game more up for Beckham than anything.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Cruz, patellar tendon tears are one of those injuries, not a lot of people come back from.
It's not like it was the ACL. It was actually probably a little bit worse than the ACL. ACL, I could see him coming back from now with the medical tech out there right now. He could probably come back, but the injury that he had, I mean, that totally. If you actually saw it, it looked ugly. It really.
Oh my gosh!
I saw it live, and it looked ugly.
It killed me watching that. I mean, and you could watch him getting carted off the field, and it broke your heart watching it. But even if he comes back, he didn't look like his 2011 self this year.
No, actually, I had a lot of high hopes for Cruz this year, but actually, even with that, I still kind of traded him away, luckily. But I really don't see. I don't think Cruz is gonna come back to what he was, and I don't think he's gonna be a factor in Beckham's talent there. And I think Beckham would be the wide receiver to own on the Giants, and taking him at 101, I think that's a good strategy. I don't think it's gonna hurt you. I don't think it definitely will help you more. And I could really see people taking him at 101.
Oh yeah. And I don't even think he's the wide receiver to own on the Giants. I think he's just the wide receiver to own, just in general. But that's enough for talking about something that we hadn't even planned on talking about. Let's go ahead and there's not a whole lot to talk about in the week in review because nobody cares about the playoffs in terms of dynasty.
And no one
Um,
cares about. Well, I mean, you had a few coaching offensive coordinator changes. I mean, Schottenheimer's leaving the Rams.
True.
You also have Shanahan leaving the Browns. A few offenses that either will hurt or help them. I know a lot of people didn't really like Schottenheimer with the Rams because it looked like he was just holding down the Rams' values, and looks like they're going to get a little boost.
Yeah. I think it'll be more worth our time to discuss it kind of when they have a replacement in place
Yeah.
and we can kind of see where that effect is. Um, the only hiring I can remember was Kirk got hired as Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator. He was the Falcons' old offensive coordinator. Um, I'm neither here nor there on the hire. Granted, it'll depend on where what they do at QB. I still think that offense has a lot of upside, regardless of what they did at offensive coordinator. When you have Mike Evans and Austin Seferian-Jenkins, you have pretty high upside. Even with Schottenheimer, I don't care. You still have some pretty high upside. So I can't
Oh,
think of any other coaching
probably a
changes.
quarterback.
Well, I mean, they're either going to get Winston or Mariota. I mean, I can't see them not going quarterback, honestly.
Yeah. Stranger things have happened.
True. I mean, maybe they'll give Glennon another chance. Maybe not. Who knows? But speaking of players from FSU, we might as well go ahead and kick off our college player discussion for the week. Which is we'll probably end up expanding it to 2 players a week once the off season gets into full swing because there won't be anything legit to talk about. But our player for this week is Rashad Green, he's a senior wide receiver out of FSU. He is going to be 23 right around the start of next season, so he's already got a little bit of age on him. But Dave, why don't you go ahead and tell us your initial impressions?
My initial impression, I actually started out watching the Oklahoma State game. What I saw in there, I mean, I think the video could have been better. Cut off a lot of the other miscellaneous stuff. But what I did see was a few drops that I didn't like seeing. Few things I did like seeing in that game is he did tend to block downfield a lot, which getting playtime that might help him in games. He can make some excellent catches. I've seen a few sliding catches here and there. The one thing that I saw was he tends to jump a little on his catches here and there. Whether it's just because of the defender or not, that could be problematic if he continues that. If that's a form of bad habit of jumping and catching, probably not something you really want to see too much of. Overall, I think he's an okay prospect. Nothing really jumps out on me saying, yeah, pick me, pick me, pick me. Uh, but if I wanted like in the late second, early third, maybe if he's still around and he lands in a good, decent spot, I might decide to look at him at least. But I probably still have other positions I'd probably pick over him, definitely.
Yeah. I think like you said, he does make a few very nice catches. He is very. I'm not very good at talking right now. Apparently, he makes a very good effort of trying to catch with his hands, which is a nice break from the last Florida State wide receiver that came out in Kelvin Benjamin. Um, so that's one big plus to his game. Another is he has excellent short area quickness. His top speed not going to blow you away. I don't expect him to run in the low 4.4s, maybe not in the 4.4s at all, but he is going to get those short yard gains. Um, The biggest thing I saw with him is he makes a lot of mental mistakes. Um, and hopefully that's something that can be coached out of him, but I'm not counting on it. Um, like you said, he does those jumps when it's not necessarily necessary, to use words over and over again. Uh, I think that's another mental mistake.
Yeah.
Is
Tends
what
to
it is.
hop. Just a little hop when he's trying to catch up, and I could see if maybe the ball was like a little high, maybe. But I mean, these are passes that are pretty much right to him, and if he just continues running, and you could easily just catch him right then and there. If you tend to jump and try to catch, it's just more chance of having a play go terribly bad on you.
Yeah, I mean, even if he makes the catch every time, it does limit your ability to make yards after the catch, which obviously limits your fantasy value.
Yeah.
Um,
But at least like you said, he's catching with his hands as opposed to his body, like Mr. Benjamin over in Carolina, which is a whole ball of wax I've mentioned before and over again how I don't like him.
yeah, I think we've beat that dead horse to a pulp at this point. Um, Overall, I mean, he's not a bad prospect. He's probably going to go somewhere in the second round of the NFL draft, maybe the third round. He's a mid-second round prospect for me in the rookie draft. If he goes to a good destination, or if he gets drafted, maybe higher in the second round of the NFL draft, he probably bumps up my board to a high second round pick. Um, I didn't see anything that really blew me away, but I also didn't see anything that kind of struck him off my board. So if he falls to me, at a pick that I wouldn't expect to get him at, I'll have no problem taking him. But he's not going to be a guy I bump up my board because there was anything particular in his game that I liked.
He doesn't
Um,
have that pick me kind of thing.
exactly. I think we can go ahead and move on from him because I really don't have a whole lot to say about the guy, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think we can go ahead and move on to our submitted questions this week. Our first one, which was one of our more amusing questions we've ever gotten, came from Vakar, who is one of our newer members of the subreddit. Asked, would you rather fight 50 tiny JJ Watts or one giant Mike Tolbert? Dave, who you fighting?
Good question. It's either having a bunch of J.J. Watts or one big giant bowling ball coming at you. Uh,
Yeah.
I think I'll probably take my chances with the one giant Mike Tolbert. Just because it's easier to get away from one thing rather than like 50 things coming at you pretty fast. Um, and I have a feeling with J.J. Watts that we would just gang up on you and take you down faster than bowling ball could come at you.
That's fair. I mean, I kind of thought of it the other way around. I took the 50 JJ Watts because Mike Tolbert's already bigger than me. So a giant Mike Tolbert is way bigger than me. And I figure with the JJ Watts, I can at least, kick and punch and try and take out as many of them at a time and, you know, try and knock them out one by one. And, that's as far as my analytical side went on this.
But I mean, you have to deal with J.J. Watt's speed and his ability of just basically getting to you like you're like the QB getting sacked.
Yeah, I would hate for him to sack my shins. I mean,
But there are 50 of them. That's 50 little J.J. Watts you have to worry about.
but I only have two shins, so you can only sack so many shins at once. Ducks can't climb on top of each other. They're not going to form a duck JJ Watt pyramid. This conversation is nonsense.
Yeah, it's a definitely silly question, but
It is.
something worth, I guess, talking about since it has been asked and it seemed a lot of people like the question.
Yeah, it did get quite a few upvotes. I don't know that it was worth answering. I don't know that it. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know that it needed to be answered, but people apparently wanted us to answer it, so why not? But we'll
Really,
go
you
ahead and
like
move
him?
on to our next question.
Okay, we'll do.
Uh, this is coming from Yes, I Am an Expert. If he's an expert, I don't know why he's asking us questions, but what's your value of Adrian Peterson right now? Personally, for me, it's not a whole lot of anything. Taking out any personal feelings I have about the situation right now, he's a 30-year-old running back that's suspended indefinitely. I didn't want a whole lot to do with Adrian Peterson going into last season, knowing his value was approaching a cliff. He's got, even if he comes back in the NFL, and he gets to play, he gets to start training camp, and he gets guaranteed he's going to have every starter snap for whatever team he goes to, or if he stays in Minnesota. He's still going to be 30, 31. I don't see his body standing up to it. I don't care that he's Adrian Peterson. I don't care that he's one of the best running backs in our generation outside of Tomlinson. I don't. To me, he's outside of a top 100 startup pick easily. I'm not giving a second round rookie pick for him. I'm probably not giving a third round rookie pick for him. Yeah, that's kind of where I stand with Peterson. It's I just don't see a point in buying him when I'm investing in a failing asset. Dave, I
Well,
mean, would you take him higher than that, or you kind of at the same spot? To me, he's outside of a top 100 startup pick easily. I can hear myself again.
yeah, sorry, I was getting the YouTube video. I forgot to post it on the site, so I'm actually doing that right now. That's why it loaded. But anyways, as far as Adrian Peterson goes for me, I'm going up back getting the switch and basically knocking him off my board completely. I think with the aging running back, I'm not going to take the chance just to have him on my roster for a year, maybe two. Is it really worth it? I don't see him on my team unless I really have a really win now kind of team coming along. Then I might actually look at him. But I got burned from him. I picked him high on one of my startups this year just because the way that the things went, and he burned me, and I'm not gonna have him burn me again, kind of thing. A fun thing.
Yeah.
That.
I wish
But
I had taken that stance with Trent Richardson this last offseason.
yeah. But I think he's off my board. I'm not even looking at him this year. Whether I probably won't even buy him cheap just because I don't want to invest in him right now. Like you said, he's a 30, 31-year-old running back. How long is he going to last? How long is he going to actually do to your team? I mean, if you get him for like a late round pick, I could see maybe picking him up. But value-wise, I'm looking not that good on AP right now. I mean, yeah, he's AP. He's come back from that horrific injury that he got, but he's pretty much damaged goods right now. Especially with being suspended indefinitely and all that. I'm pretty sure that's probably behind him now. And if he does come back, I don't think he's gonna have any more problems. Hopefully, but he's still one of those players I'm not looking at picking up at all.
Yeah, same here. I mean, that's really all that needs to be said. I think we can go ahead and move on to the subreddit post discussions. And one is kind of a question I wanted to submit for us, which is a question that got posted this morning, is what are our thoughts on Derek Rogers now that he's with the Chiefs? And, what do you think his future is? Do you think he ends up sticking on the roster? Do you think he ends up having any value with the Chiefs? Or does your opinion not change on him from when he was a free agent?
Boy, oh boy. Rick Rogers, one player I had really high hopes on. Personally, I used to like him. At this point, I'm I'm really skittish on him now, just because all the background noise on him right now. I mean, he's got passed around the league as a rookie, and he hasn't really shown anything yet. Um, I mean, I actually drafted him, and I liked him a lot. Uh, right now, I'm gonna wait until he actually does something to actually try to pick him up. I'm not gonna try to actually pick him up. I have other prospects ahead of him that's actually shown some promise that I like ahead of him. One of them, of course, is a player I've been talking about a lot lately, which was Edmund Bailey. I
Knew it
definitely,
was coming.
I definitely pick him above Rogers. And Rogers to me is too much of damaged goods. I mean, how many teams has he been on so far? And then the DUI that he got in trouble for, it's just not looking good for him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when he landed with the Colts and he actually ended up looking good for a good part of their season. I thought he finally, figured it all out. He looked he looked like he was kind of settled down and he was ready to just play football. And I'm with you. I was high on him when he came out. I liked his talent, and once he got cut from the Colts, I just dropped him. I dropped him off my radar, off my boards, because that told me. Because even once you got your opportunity, he got his opportunity to start, and he didn't care enough not to blow it. I don't. That's worth nothing to me now. Um, I think the NFL agrees with me that he was a free agent for the majority of the season, and it takes until the end of the season when your roster spots aren't worth as much for him to get signed. To me, that means that he's not worth being on my dynasty roster either. Um, sure, he's got upside, but so do a lot of other prospects.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna have to show me something first. He has to show me that he can actually be a starter on the team to begin with. Like you said, he had his chance on the Colts. He showed some promise, and then he just decides, I'm gonna screw this up. I mean, it's not like a Josh Gordon situation. Josh Gordon actually shown that he has the talent with who are we talking about now? Rogers. Basically, he hasn't really shown anything yet, and he's just shown a few flashes, and that's about it. And the fact that he was a free agent the whole season, that really shows that teams are avoiding him, and you probably should wait until he shows us something. And there's plenty of other prospects out there to pick up.
Yeah, I mean, Roger showed me. I mean, in terms of production, in terms of on the field, he showed me more than enough with his time with the Colts to say that I think he can be an NFL wide receiver. The only thing I need him to show me is that he's going to be done being an idiot. Um, and I'm not convinced at all. I'm more convinced that Justin Blackmon's going to stop being an idiot. And
That says a lot right there.
exactly. So that's where I stand on that, and I think we can go ahead and you know let him lay in the ground for a while before we talk about him again.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about the rapid fire value or the startup mock draft first?
I think we'll start up with the startup mock draft. But first, I would like to give a shout out to Sticky Z. If you haven't noticed, he's basically volunteered to basically enter the picks into a spreadsheet, and they are kindly, nicely put into a spreadsheet format as well, which are a little bit easier to read rather than looking through the threads. If you look on the sidebar on our subreddit now, you'll see the link over there. He's compiled a nice little spreadsheet with both the startup picks as well as the rookie draft picks.
I did see that, and kudos to him for doing that and for volunteering to do that. He's been keeping up with it. Yeah, kudos to him. Yeah, that's right there on the sidebar. Everybody to find. There's also a little mini chart in the post, so you don't have to go back and forth. But that Excel sheet is great for compiling kind of not exactly historical data, but kind of compare each mock draft to each other. kind of see how it's changing with each one as even just as weeks go by. Once free agency opens, to see what changes happen and where these players' values change. Um, I think it's awesome that he's keeping that all together because it's a lot more difficult to search out startup thread and then have to open up 4 different tabs for the whole month's worth of startups. So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, way to go, man. We appreciate it. Um, so let's go ahead and let's get that opened up. And I want to start off with where you think the biggest reach is out of this most recent startup draft was.
Biggest reach on the one that was on the 4th. Uh, Biggest reach? Gads.
I know 'cause this one was actually pretty good. Like this was pretty solid on in terms of value.
Yeah. I'm all the way in the second round, and I'm kind of having a hard trying one. I'd say probably Watkins at 203 with this draft, and maybe Rogers at 204.
Well, I hate you because I picked Watkins.
I mean, I could still see people picking him at that spot too, but I mean, I think at 2.3 might be a little bit early for him without the situation, but the talent's definitely there to pick him there. But I think this startup doesn't have any really good reaches per se.
I agree. Like I hadn't looked at it before I typed out biggest reach, and I was just looking at it while I was waiting for you, and there's really not. To me, the biggest reach is luck in the first, and that's just because I like to wait on QB. And the more and more I see these startup drafts going, and even in like the DLF mock drafts, it's looking like these QB like luck going in the first is not that strange anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't pick a QB first, but at least in the first round, the first QB was Andrew Luck, which is probably the one QB I would say would be the first QB to go, just because his talent and his age. I
Absolutely.
still not a pick I would pick, but I really don't think it's really a reach.
Yeah, I mean, I can't hate on doing it because you're locking down that position forever.
Yep.
Um, Now, where are you seeing the biggest steal out of this draft?
Biggest still. I'd probably say Josh Gordon at 3.9.
You would.
But it's the risk. I think he's still worth the risk to pick him as a second round pick. And a person getting him in the late third, I think that's really excellent value for what he actually can give. I mean, yeah, it's the risk, but second round pick, you shoot for the stars on that one.
Yeah. I think without his most recent issue with the Browns and that Week 17 suspension, I don't think he falls that far. I think that drop is a little bit of recency bias to it,
Yeah.
but I think I'm gonna go with the best one is Gronk at 110. And I know you're not a tight end guy, but I mean Graham was going 106 last year, pretty steadily, and Gronk blew his numbers away last year, and he's going at 110. And I know that speaks to how strong the wide receiver class is right now, but Gronk is putting up wide receiver one numbers in the tight end position. That's stellar numbers in a position that has retarded positional scarcity. Excuse me, anyone that gets offended by the word retarded. I'm going to use it sometimes because I'm a terrible person. Yeah, I'm going to say that Gronk's the best value out of here.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of wasting a first round pick on tight end, but at least with Gronk, I mean that's probably the one you would want to grab, and then Graham at closely by. But I'm not a big fan of taking tight end early, just because basically I get my tight ends later, just like my QBs, and unless you can get the top two, it's really a crapshoot.
Yeah, like I said, when you're drafting Gronk, you're not even really drafting a tight end. You're drafting a guy who's a wide receiver in terms of the numbers he's given you. So I have no problem with taking a tight end, with taking Gronk early. Uh, I'm a diehard Saints fan. Everybody who listens knows, and Gronk to me is the best tight end in the league, and I'll fight anybody who disagrees with me.
With 50 J.J. Watts or one giant Tolbert.
What?
Are you gonna bring along 50 J.J. Watts or one giant Tolbert with you when you fight?
I'm going to bring along one giant Gronk and let him smash them all on the ground. That'll be great.
Anything else you see in the startup draft that you want to talk about?
Not so much what I see, but what are your thoughts on how these startups and the rookie drafts as well? How do you think they've been running?
I think they've been running fine. I mean, it's not the traditional one where people pick their team and then they pick consistency. I mean, this will at least give some kind of value on where the players' values are, per se. It's a little bit easier to run. I would still like to run some other mocks where people have specific teams that they draft for. I'd like to see a few of those kind of mocks. But overall, I think these mocks are going well, and I think over time it'll give good value on what the values are. Everything else has been pretty fine on these mocks from my point of view. Do you want to talk anything differences on the startups from the first one to the second one that you've seen?
Definitely the activity's increased. I'd like to see it increase more. I'd like to see us, make it even past the third round. That would be nice, and that would help if, you wanted to participate in them like I have, because I'm better than you. But I'm kidding. But I'd like to see us make it into like the fourth, fifth, sixth rounds of these, and kind of get past that wall we've had. Same thing with the rookie draft. I'd like to get into the later second round and explore that area.
Latest startup's into the third round right now, so this one seemed to be going good.
Yeah, this is by far the farthest we've gotten in one of the startup drafts, and we're at 309, which is a little sad. But I think as we get farther into the off season and more people get in that off season mentality, it'll definitely pick up.
Yeah. Well, the one difference I see from the first one to the second one is looks like the first one we had a lot of people were picking running backs.
Yeah, I think that also has more to do with who was picking and whatnot.
Yeah. Which I mean, I could see someone taking Le'Veon Bell at 1.1 like the first round too. I mean, it's just a matter of preference. I kind of do like to build around running backs myself, and maybe not a 1-on-1 nowadays, but Le'Veon Bell I think is a good running back to pick up 1-on-1 if you want to build that way.
Yeah, and for dynasty running backs right now, it's Le'Veon Bell, and then there's everyone else.
I think with the first one, I think the only pick I really don't like on that one so far is Calvin Johnson on 1.7.
Yeah, and I actually
turn and all, but I think for the age, I don't think you really want to build around him. You might want him on your team, but you definitely don't want to build around him, which is the first round pick. That's what you're doing. You're picking the player you want to build around. And definitely, I don't think Calvin Johnson is going to be the one player you want to build around, unless you somehow want to build a win-win-win now kind of team and rebuild after that. But
right, and that was a pick I made in that first draft, because at first I wasn't sure how I wanted to go about these mock drafts. If I wanted to try and mimic what I thought we were going to see in these mock drafts to kind of help people prepare more, or if I wanted to draft off of what my board was. So, like drafting Calvin Johnson at 107 was obviously not going where my board was, because I'm gonna give you a sneak peek. Brandon Cooks is higher on my board right now than Calvin Johnson is, and that has nothing to do with how high Cooks is on my board and everything to do with how low Calvin Johnson is on my board in terms of startup picks. Because if I'm doing a startup draft, I'm not drafting a wide receiver who I'm going to get like 3 years out of. Like you said, it's a poor choice to build your team on.
Yeah, first round pick, you definitely, I mean, in a startup, you want to find that player that you can build around.
Exactly.
I mean, it just makes better sense to pick a younger player that has the talent. The Julio Jones out there, the Odell Beckham. That's definitely a wide receiver. A lot of people are going to
Antonio Brown. Yep.
But moving on, I think maybe you want to talk about the rookie draft mocks as well.
I think we can go ahead and save that for next week when we actually have one going, so that way we don't end up running forever on time. Because I know people get sick of hearing us talk sometimes. And I wanted to touch on this rapid fire dynasty value that we did this week. And I wanted to first of all thank Ballerstorm for running them, because it's one of the more interesting. I have no idea what word I'm looking for. I mean, the more we do these, eventually I'm going to get better at talking, but it's just an interesting article, something word I'm thinking of. Help me out here, Dave. Feature. There we go. I like that. Feature, discussion, something like that, that we've been doing.
Cool. A utility.
I don't like utility. It's not a light bulb.
Well, it's a tool to make basically improve people and improve your outlook on things.
Well, the reason I wanted to bring it up was, first of all, to thank Ballerstorm for doing them, because it's definitely pretty baller for him to do it. And second of all, because I wanted to ask you, the closest one for me on here was Matt Ryan or Ryan Tannehill. For me, I took Ryan Tannehill, but which one would you take out of that one?
Let's see. You have talent and you have youth.
What, you saying Ryan Tannehill's not talented?
I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill isn't talented. I just don't think he's not at where Matt Ryan is right now in his career. Over time, I'm sure Ryan Tannehill's probably going to get there. It's a matter of what can you do for me right now. I'd probably right now go with Matt Ryan just because he could offer me something on my team right now, and I could actually pick another QB as a backup for youth to build up on. And I might pick up Ryan Tannehill along with Matt Ryan probably. But
good luck with that. His price is going up a lot after this year. And I guess it was so close for me because I was high on Tannehill going into this season, and he kind of had that breakout season that I was hoping he would. And I think he's only going to get better from here as his line improves, as his rapport develops more with his wide receivers, especially Jarvis Landry. I'm right now fighting on whether I should put him in my top 5 quarterbacks for Dynasty right now or not. In terms of, because I heavily weight age in terms of my rankings. In case anybody's just now starting to listen to the show, I've talked before about setting old people on fire in the river. So that's why the young people are rated so high in my rankings. But Matt Ryan's still only 29, so he's.
Yeah.
I think right now they're both 6 and 7 in my rankings, so they're neck and neck for me.
So neck to neck, you probably go with the youth over that then.
Exactly. I mean, I think Tannehill's situation is going to improve, whereas Matt Ryan, he's going to lose Roddy soon. He's going to be left with just Julio. And I can see that situation degrading quickly, whereas Tannehill's is looking up.
That's definitely one way to look at it. I kind of like the consistency factor in my QB first and first most. Ryan Tannehill would be the one QB I would probably pick to replace my aging starter at some point. That's the way I'm viewing this right now. Of course, I do think Ryan Tannehill eventually will overtake Matt Ryan where I'm at right now. But I'd like to see a little more consistency first beforehand. I like to see another breakout year from Tannehill.
That's fair.
Oh.
Taking a quick look at this list, what's the closest one in terms of value for you?
Closest one in terms of value to me. see here. I think you hit the nail on the nail with the hit the nail on the head with the Matt Ryan Tannehill. And other than that, I'd probably like to take a look at the Gordon versus Gurley debate. That's probably a lot of people going to have this offseason. Who do you take as your number one pick this year in the rookie drafts? Is it going to be Gordon or is it going to be Gurley? And I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this year. And I'm pretty sure I know your thoughts on this, and I think I'm going to agree with you on Gurley. Injury or not, I think Gurley's probably the running back you want to own. Gordon, I think he's going to have a lot of talent as well, but I still kind of like Gurley ahead of Gordon.
Yeah, it's clearly Gurley for me. I just haven't seen enough out of Gordon as a pass catcher to make him a safe fantasy pick for me, especially at the 101 or the 102. And people can say that, hey, he didn't even catch a lot of passes. He didn't get a lot of passes thrown his way. So how do we even know he can catch? Well, the year before when James White was their running back, James White caught 39 passes. So clearly their offense in the past has been tooled around throwing the running back the ball. And then this year, Melvin Gordon didn't even catch half that. So clearly the coaches saw something that said we need to adjust this in our offense. So I'm going to go ahead and trust the coaches and assume that they saw something enough that said that he couldn't catch the ball that well. He's still an excellent runner. I'm not going to argue that with you at all. But if I'm drafting a running back for fantasy, I want a guy that can catch the ball. I want a guy that's going to give me PPR points. If you're in a standard league and you want to take Melvin Gordon 101, go for it. I'm not going to argue with you. I think in PPR leagues, though, I think you might be seeing more of an argument for Amari Cooper over Todd Gurley, with as much as wide receivers are getting valued right now.
Wide receivers right now are probably the way to go. A lot of people are viewing it that way. I still think you need a good running back. I mean, if you really want to win, I mean, you have to have that value in running back as well. I mean, you're just not gonna you're gonna have a hard time just running on your wide receivers at times. You still need to have some kind of running back.
I won a Dynasty Championship this year with nothing at running back. So, I mean, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
You can win it anyway. I had C.J. Anderson and Mark Ingram. So that means that whole first half of the season, I didn't even have any good starting running backs. That whole wide receiver position was carrying me. Granted, Odell Beckham Jr. kind of hit for me, but I mean, you can build it anyway, and if you have good player evaluations, there's not necessarily a wrong way.
I typically like my running backs. I like to build around running backs. Of course, if you could find some good wide receivers, that kind of helps.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably going to be taking Cooper and Gurley fairly early, both in a lot of my leagues. It's going to depend a lot on the situation because they're fairly close to my rankings right now. Do you want to hit any more on this the rapid fire, or do you want to move on?
Let me see here. Is there anything else on this rapid fire you want to talk about?
Not especially. I think next week I'm gonna make up a couple of our own rapid fires and I'm gonna throw at you. But I wanted to go ahead and move on to something that I wanted us to talk about last week, but
Gotcha.
We already went an hour and a half, and I'm sure everybody else wanted us to shut up. Yeah. And I wanted to talk about some stuff kind of as the year's shutting it down. I want to talk about, some trades you made that you regret the most, some trades you dn't make that you regret not making, and kind of your trade that you made that you're just the most stoked that you made. And I'll let you open up with your biggest regret trade of the year.
My biggest regret trade was basically I received the 2014 1.08. I picked up Carlos Hyde. I actually traded away my 114, plus my two of my 2015 seconds I picked up. Although I do like the trade, I like the fact that I was able to get Carlos Hyde to build my running back core. I do like Hyde a lot. The one thing I do regret on that trade was I did not trade my own second round pick, and I traded another team's second round pick, which ended up being 201. That's the one thing I regret on that one. That's the only thing I regret on that one. But overall, I do like having Hyde on my team, though, so that helps.
Man, I wish I could have a trade that went that smoothly for me. That was my biggest regret of the offseason. My biggest trade regret was this is a super flex league. I did the startup this year, and I traded Andrew Luck and Mike Evans for Colin Kaepernick and Demaryius Thomas.
What?
Yeah.
You're doing this podcast? Shouldn't have you on this podcast?
I traded them to a good friend of the subreddit. I'm in multiple leagues with the guy Barless. Yeah. I traded them to him. To me, I was all right with kind of going with punting on quarterback. I wanted to stack up my wide receivers. I figured Demaryius Thomas, I'll pair him up with the Julio I already had. I was all about it. And then Evans busted and broke out. I thought, Luck, he's that name. He's the 101 pick. Got all this value, but he's in that Pep Hamilton offense. He's only going to throw 23 touchdowns. The name's worth a lot more than he is in fantasy, and then I was wrong. I was so wrong. Oh, I could not have been more wrong. Evans is pretty much worth what Demaryius Thomas is right now. So even if that's a 1-for-1 swap, I traded down from Luck to Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And we all know how good Kaepernick looked this year.
Well, maybe when you head coach, he'll pick it back up for you.
Even if he does, that's still, even if he looks like a low-end QB1, I still traded away Andrew Luck, who's looking clearly the Dynasty QB1 for forever, for a low-end QB1. Oops.
Oops is right. Of course, we all make those trades that you later regret, and that's probably the one regret. I probably have some other worse ones out there. I just can't, for the life of me, remember them.
Yeah, Tyler and I ended up talking about that one last night, lamenting over it. But I mean, you got to do that. You got to take those risks, because if you hit on, as long as you hit on 6 out of 10 of them, you're still advancing and you're still making that profit. What trade did you not make that you regret the most?
Patterson, Cordell Patterson, Mr. Vikings player guy. Who's just a guy now. But there's a lot of high hype from him last offseason, and I'm like, I bought into it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see him tear it up this season. And I had one Vikings fan coming at me left and right with these awesome deals, and I'm like, no, I'm holding on to him. I need him on my team. I was looking at my roster of wide receivers, and I pretty much had Josh Gordon, who, as most people know, has suspended. I'm like, no, I need that wide receiver on my team. I need at least someone on my team. And lo and behold, I actually didn't even need Josh Gordon this season because my team sunk anyways. But I'm like, that's one trade I regret not making. I could have got a first-round pick for him this season. I could have picked up one of those wide receivers in the draft that were basically a gold mine this season, and I could have had those wide receivers as my wide receivers this year. And I kept out, and I tried to have Patterson as wide receiver, which didn't work out that well.
I feel your pain, bud. It was about week 3 or 4. I actually had somebody come to me to sell me Cordell Patterson, and I'm like, no, it's all right. He's just having a bad start to the season. He'll come around. And he offered me Cordell Patterson straight up for a first-round pick. And this was not my first-round pick. I had like 3 firsts stocked up in this league. And I'm like, this looks like a first from a playoff caliber team. Granted, this was week 4, so things can change. And I'm like, this will be like the 107, 108, something like that. I'll take that. That's pretty solid value for a player that was going late second to startup. So I'm like, yep, let's do that right now. Not only did Cordell Patterson turn into a pumpkin, that pick turned into the 104. Oh, that killed me inside a little bit. But the biggest trade I regret not making was that same league. That was a league I did a startup in this year. I was offered Odell Beckham Jr., Eric Ebron, and the 11th pick in the 9th round, and the 14th pick in the first pick in the 14th round for Keenan Allen and the last 3 picks of the startup draft. And I didn't take it because I was super duper high on Keenan Allen. I thought Keenan Allen was going to be the second coming of Alshon Jeffrey. Not in terms of how they play, but in terms of he was going to just bust out his second year, and he was going to be awesome, and he's going to be a high for a late first round startup wide receiver, and he was going to be great forever, and that didn't happen at all. Shower cry.
Well, at least with Keenan Allen, he can still break out in his 3rd year, which is the 3rd-year wide receiver breakout season. But you did pass up on Odell Beckham
and Eric Ebron and the player. I was selecting rookies at that point in the draft for 9/11. That could have easily been Trey Mason or whoever was there. Oops, again. But that's all right because I made some slam dunk trades this year, and I'm gonna go ahead and go first with mine. This was probably week 4. This was right before Odell Beckham Jr. came around, and this was right around the time that Adrian Peterson got suspended, and the Jerick McKinnon hype was in full effect. And there was this girl that I'm in multiple leagues with. I watched her buy Jerick McKinnon, and she sold Allen Robinson and a 2015 first for Jerick McKinnon.
Wow.
So I'm like, all right, I'm coming after Odell Beckham Jr. I'm like, the cost is right now is low. I came after her for Odell Beckham in a first. Wasn't happening. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't budge. I'm like, all right, fine. Just give me Odell Beckham. Still had to push. So I told her, I'm like, you realize I'm in that other league with you. I saw the trade you did. She's like, all right, fine. I ended up giving Jerick McKinnon and Jeff Janis for Odell Beckham and Ryan Grant, who was the Tulane wide receiver that went to Washington. Immediately dropped him. Didn't care. Yo no caro. So I traded essentially Jerick McKinnon for Odell Beckham. And that was my slam dunk trade of the year.
Any trade where you get Odell Beckham is probably a slam dunk trade this year, but
I think I got like 3 of them this year where I traded for Odell Beckham, but that was the best one. That was the cheapest one.
Yeah.
So what you got?
From the trades I remember, like I said, I don't remember a lot of my trades. The one that I could remember is I traded away Ryan Matthews in 2015 4th, and I received the 2014 1.06 and a 2015 2nd. I was actually picked up another Matthews. I actually picked up Jordan Matthews with that 1.6, and actually I have a 2015 2nd coming to me on that trade as well. And I was able to get rid of Ryan Matthews.
What'd that second turn into?
Oh, that's the 2015 2nd, so that's this year coming up. I think I might have traded that one away when I picked up the Hyde.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was just wondering, like, was it 201, 204, or whatever? But yeah, I'm betting you're pretty happy with that one right now.
Right now I am, yeah.
But
with the way that Jordan Matthews turned into, and he's looking promising for me as one of my wide receivers.
Indeed, he is. Well, pretty much every wide receiver you took this year is looking pretty promising, all the way down to the ones you took in the third round, like John Brown and Martavis Bryant. Um,
Actually picked up Allen Robinson in this draft too, and I have him sitting on my team too, which is
love
very
me some
free
Allen Robinson.
agent.
But yeah, I mean, the whole reason I wanted to bring this up is I wanted to look back at the moves we made, and I wanted to kind of try and get into that mindset of where you were at when you made these moves. Because when I was talking to Barles, when we were talking about the horrible luck for Kaepernick trade, he and I both agreed that at the time the value was fair. It was an even trade between us. It didn't play out how either of us expected it to. You have to look at it like, as long as your process is correct, it doesn't matter how exactly it played out. You need to go back and examine your process and make sure that was correct. If you need to go back and say, hey, my process was incorrect here, then you need to adjust. Like, for the trade I didn't make, the Odell Beckham, Ebron, 9/11, 14/01, that's when I need to go back and adjust my process, because I already said I was very in on this class. These are young players that, to me, there was no way they weren't going to gain some amount of value. So for me to pass on them because I liked one player says that I'm allowing bias into my process. So I need to adjust my process for this year. And that's why I bring it up, is I want to be a better Dynasty player next year.
The other thing to keep in mind is basically when you make these trades, you could make on paper what looks like a horrible trade, but in the end, it might actually turn out better. Same thing goes along the lines with those leagues that have trade vetoes. A lot of people will say veto, 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 but this is a horrible trade. Why are you trading this player? And in the end, sometimes, a lot of those times, those trades actually turn out the exact opposite of what they are in the first place. That's a lot of things that you need to keep in mind as well when you're making these trades. Is sometimes you're trading away what is eventually going to be junk into these studs, and you just never know at the beginning of the season how things are going to turn out. And don't necessarily be afraid to make those trades if you really think that what you're trading away is junk and what's going to come to you is a gem that's actually junk right now. You just never know that, and don't stay behind just because you think you're making a horrible trade, because in the end, it's not really a horrible trade.
Right. Exactly. Make the trade based on, if it looks good for your value, who cares if other people think it's a horrible trade? Make the trade that looks good to you. And if they want to veto it, then get out of the league, because I've already ranted about how much trade vetoes are stupid.
Yes, they are.
And commissioners who think your league needs trade vetoes are stupid. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yes, I actually had to deal with that in the league I'm running right now, and actually the old LM that was in there, he eventually just had enough, and he actually deleted the league because he thought his trade vetoes were correct, and a lot of them weren't, because a lot of them turned out where the team that was actually losing at the beginning actually won big time at the end of that trade. And the actual team that actually won that trade is actually lucky that it got vetoed in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, in redraft, there's a lot better case to be made for trade vetoes, because the player value is a lot more flat. But in Dynasty, there's so many different ways to look at value, because there's win now teams, there's teams that are rebuilding, there's some people value age differently. Some owners value proven production over potential. It can go all sorts of different ways. But
I like potential a lot. Dynasty,
yep.
Definitely if rebuilding, you have to look at the potential. And if you're trading away current aging studs that are actually performing for these potential players, that's sometimes the way you want to rebuild. You want to hit on those players with potential.
Absolutely. And I think we can go ahead and move on and kind of start wrapping up the show for the week. We'll finish up with my rant for the week. My rant for the week has been heavily influenced by some of the leagues I'm in. I get it. The championships are over. The fantasy season, in terms of games, are over. That does not mean you get to stop logging in. 9 people out of a 24-person league should not get to skip logging in for 2 weeks. That's unacceptable. I'm not asking you to log on and post 50-player rankings for each position. I just want you to log on and reply to a trade offer. If you don't even want to counter because you don't know where player evaluations are right now, if you don't want to trade draft picks because you don't know that much about the draft class right now, fine. But at least log on and reject the trade offer so I can go on and send out more offers to people so I don't have this player just floating in space and not knowing where, what I'm going to do with them. Just log on. It's really not that hard. And if you're a commissioner and I bring up, hey, this guy hasn't logged on in over a month, you're like, oh, well, he was out of playoff contention in week bleh. Yeah, but he still had to set his lineup every week. They have to set a lineup every week. I shouldn't have to lose out on the 101 because Peckerhead didn't sign in and make his lineup. I can't even talk right now because it makes me so mad. I missed out on the 101 because this Peckerhead didn't sign in and make his lineup. Seriously, I scored less than 100 points a week. This dude scored way better than that. My only loss was to his team in week 12.
Ouch.
Mad.
Of course.
But log in, respond to trade offers. That's all you have to do.
New Year's resolution, more teams should have a New Year's resolution of having a productive off-season. Make sure you're being active in your leagues during the off-season. I know a lot of people are coming to Dynasty from redrafts, where redrafts, they pretty much die during the off-season. I'm probably like that too. I probably need to work on becoming more active in the off-season and making sure other teams are active in the off-season, which is kind of odds here because a lot of people are not used to having activity during the off-season. But we definitely need to start becoming more active and looking at making trades, answering trades, and improving teams, improving your knowledge of fantasy play. Become active more on the sub, learn more things, improve yourself. That's a lot of things you want to do in fantasy is improve what you're doing. Don't just sit idly by and let other people learn when you're not learning anything as well. Take this time during the off season. I'm saying off season a lot because it's not really an off season as much in the Dynasty leagues. We really don't have an off season per se. It's just basically another season. It's a whole different set. It's like winter.
It's draft season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take this time to learn and improve your skills.
Yeah. My New Year's resolution for this year for Dynasty was get to know my league mates better. And I can't do that if you're not going to log on. But yeah, no, I want to. I do. I want to form
tricks.
What was that?
You want them to log in so you get their tricks and their mindset so you can take advantage of them, right?
Not even that. I just want to. Some of them I'm in leagues with good dudes, and I want to form that rapport with them so it's easier to trade with them. Some players, some guys, it's so hard to get a hold of them, and it takes so long for them to reply that I can never get a trade done. Not because our values are so far apart, but because it takes forever them to even have negotiations.
Yeah.
Whereas, I did a trade with Scott, who's been on the show before, and it still took 2 days, but during that 2 days, we had probably 12 counteroffers between the two of us.
Yeah. While
we both worked. I mean, it's really not that hard.
You definitely
regardless.
Help a lot by doing this.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my blood pressure up again. Some news for the show though. We are officially up on iTunes. So if y'all use iTunes to listen to your podcasts, go on there. You can get your podcast from there. If y'all like the show, please go on there. Give us a rating.
Can you put a link up somewhere on the sub? I tried to find it on iTunes. I couldn't find it. Not that I use iTunes, but I try to look for it.
Yeah, I can do that. I can sure do that.
Awesome.
I will get that put up. I don't think we have any other news. Dave, you have any last parting shots for us?
Well, I like the way that the sub's going. I'm liking the new aspect of having more links in there, more news, more Twitter news kind of things. I'm liking that a lot. I think it adds a lot to the discussion. Anything that adds to discussion that where people could learn from Dynasty, I think is good. That's what we need. We need a lot of discussion. I think that's the key of actually advancing skills is being able to discuss. I mean, not everything's going to be right. Not everything is going to be wrong, though. It's just a matter of just improving our opinion on things and learning and advancing so we could actually start competing better and having better competition, even amongst each other. I know a lot of people are afraid to post things because they have other league mates and all that, and it might be on the sub as well, but I really don't like that mindset. I like the mindset of, okay, let's have an open discussion and see where things are, and not everyone's going to take the same point the same way. They're not going to look at it the same way. They might actually disagree. But I think open discussion is good to have. It helps us build better skills in the long run.
Absolutely. Hey, when I go to my league mates in the money league for the subreddit, and I want to bounce off just Dynasty thoughts in general, that can easily give them thoughts into how I build my team. And this is the most competitive league I'm in. It's not going to help me win that league, but it makes the experience better.
I think a lot of people, they're afraid that other team members are gonna steal their ideas somehow. I know if you've ever noticed on the conversations over at the subreddit Fantasy Football, a lot of people, oh, I'm afraid my league mates are gonna find the sub. Oh no, oh no, oh no. I think that's a terrible mindset to have. I mean,
it's a little paranoid.
Was it?
It's a little paranoid.
Yeah, it's a lot of paranoia. I mean, I don't think that's a mindset you should have. I mean, so what if league mates know you're there? So what if they hear what you're saying? Doesn't mean that you're always gonna go that route to begin with. I mean, it's just ideas that just an opinion at the time. Opinions change as well.
Yeah, and it's not like we sit in the subreddit and just circle jerk around the same opinions all the time. There's consistently different opinions going on and us discussing. It's exactly that. It's discussions. It's us having opposing opinions and it's us presenting different viewpoints. But Dave, I see that you have some obligations you need to address. I also have some things that need to be taken care of at home. So, guys, we will go ahead and let you go for the day. As always, this has been the Dynasty Podcast, Dynasty FS dedicated podcast. I'm your host, Drew. You can find me on Reddit at EAF_Marine and on Twitter at Drew Dodson NFL. And as always, been my co-host, Dave. You can find Dave on Reddit at mtux96 and on Twitter at DynastyDaveII. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, bye.